person. I believe that this person was not amongst the land of the living. I don't know. I don't think that she was a real person. So I think that she was an entity, or there was an entity inside of her. And so let me explain myself.
Story Vibes, your ultimate destination for non-stop action and real-life thrillers. Dive into heart-pumping action stories, gripping, true stories, jaw-dropping crime stories, and hilarious funny stories. Whether you're craving adrenaline or a good laugh, we've got it all. Subscribe now and stay tuned for stories that keep you on the edge of your seat 24/7. Urban Story Vibes, where every story is a vibe. What are you waiting for? Subscribe right now before you check out this amazing video.
Hello, family. Thank you so much for joining me here on Urban Story Vibes. I would appreciate it if you go ahead and subscribe right now before you get into this interesting video that we have for you. The creator of this video, I found it over on TikTok. Her name was Princess Cho, Princess CHO, Princess Cho. This story was very interesting to me, so I decided to go ahead and just talk about it a little bit. It was this young lady who went to a convenience store to get some gas one night, and she had what she believes is an encounter with a supernatural being, whether it be a demon or just someone from or some entity from another realm. I believe in the supernatural. I believe that there are dens for the devil, dens for demons. I believe that the convenience store that she was hanging out with may have been cursed. It may have been an area of death for demons. Demons always hang around cursed areas, death areas that are full of death. And the reason I say death is because she's going to tell us that the lady was pale. When you look at the pale horse in the book of Revelation, it was the horse of death. That rider was, or that rider represented death. And so I believe that she had an encounter with a demonic spirit who was dwelling on the inside of this woman in this area where it was probably possessed, not just a woman, but the area was probably possessed by demons. And she happened to be there. Now, God will show us, I believe, I've been pastoring for over almost 30 years. God will show us sometimes things that are going on in the supernatural realm and show us supernatural beings just for our knowledge, because we are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And so oftentimes God will show us things or show us demons, show us angels, so that we will have knowledge of who we're dealing with, and we have knowledge of where we're dealing with someone. So this gas station may have been a den for demons. I wouldn't be surprised if there was all types of witchcraft on that land. The ownership could be dealing in the demonic. And so I believe that this is probably a young lady who had an encounter, like she said, with the supernatural, with a demon who was in this area, and God revealed it to her so she would know who she was dealing with, and she would know where she was dealing. I wouldn't go back to the gas station again, because the gas station seems to be unclean and a den for the demonic. Okay, check this out. It's very interesting to me. I hope it's interesting to you. Put it in the comments and let me know how you feel about this video. Thanks a lot.
What I believe to not be a real person. And when I say not a real person, I believe that this person was not amongst the land of the living. I don't know. I don't think that she was a real person. So I think that she was an entity, or there was an entity inside of her. And so let me explain myself. If you don't believe in a supernatural realm or a realm outside of what you're living in now, then this video might be hard for you to grasp. So maybe about April. It was April. I had been going through a lot. I had been really sick, in and out of the hospital, just battling a lot. And I felt like I was like under spiritual attack, because every time I went to the hospital, they were having trouble finding things. You know, it was just like a lot of back and forth. And it was just like, the attack was so great. I felt like it was just not of this realm. Like, you ever go through something so crazy, so traumatic, that you're like, God, this don't even make no sense. The stuff that's happening don't even make sense. Like, that's where I was at that point in my life. So this one particular night, I had been having some issues. I had been in and out of the hospital, but I was feeling better. But my mom came down to stay with me. She came down from out of town to be with me. So I was coming from work, and I worked out of town, so I was like maybe 3 hours away, and I was finishing up a contract. So this particular night, I was on my way home, and I called my mom. I was like, hey, do you need anything from the store before I get home? Because I got to pass the store anyway. Now, this store by my house, at that point, I had never been inside of the physical store, but I would always get gas at the pumps, like, because they have tap to pay. So I never had to physically go in. But this night, my mom was like, no, it's fine. And then she was like, well, you know what? You can stop and get me such and such. So I pulled up to the store. When I pulled up, I immediately noticed that it had to be about almost 10 o'clock at night. There was not a lot of people in the store. There was the clerk, there was one person at the counter playing lottery, and there was myself, and then there was a young lady in the store. Now, I went up to the, in my mind, I was like, well, let me scan the store and see if there's anything that I would like. Like, if I see a snack, I'm going to get it. So I just did a quick little 1-2 throughout the store. I didn't see anything. I was already tired from driving. So I turned around from the cooler to get ready to make my way toward the checkout counter. And in the aisle behind me, maybe about 5 feet away from me, there was a Caucasian girl. And when I turned around to her, she was facing me. She had nothing in her hands. She didn't appear to be shopping. I can't even put an age on her, guys. You know how normally you can guess about a person's age or maybe generalize them and say she was a young girl, she was an older lady, she was middle age. I couldn't put an age on her at all. When I turned around to her, when I turned around to look at her, she might have been about my height. She had shoulder length, strawberry blonde hair. Like, it was like it wasn't strawberry blonde. It was the reddish brown looking hair. It was about right here. And her face was ghostly pale.
Notice that she said that the demon or the woman was pale. Oftentimes, you see that pale, it represents death. And also, you can look into the soul of someone to see that there's no life in their eyes.
Her face was the color of this binder, but not in a skin texture way. Her face had a kind of almost textured look, like a flaky, floury, ill look. But that wasn't it. That wasn't what did it. When I turned around, she said, we locked eyes. Okay, when I turned around, we locked eyes because she started speaking to me. Her head was positioned in a very unnatural way. She was like, you're so pretty. And when we locked eyes, my heart dropped. I had a feeling of dread, of fear that consumed me. And she was giving me a compliment, but everything about her gave unnatural. Everything about her gave unreal. Her head that was tilted to the side, the way it cocked this way when she spoke to me. Her face was pale. It looked like she was sick. Her lips were like a strawberry, like a cherry red. Her eyes were like a greenish brown, but it was everything about her body movements, everything about her tone, everything about the way she looked at me that scared me. My heart dropped, y'all, and I'm gonna tell you exactly who she looked like. I don't know if you guys remember the movie The Exorcist, the original one. She looked exactly like the little girl that was sick in that movie. And I don't watch scary movies. I don't bring scary movies into my house. This is a movie that I saw as a child that I probably watched with my cousins growing up. That's how I was able to identify. And so I said, thank you. And I made my way to the counter. When I went to the counter, she didn't continue. I don't even know what she did behind me. I made my way to the counter and I checked out. I got in my car and I was so scared, y'all. I turned around and checked my back seat. I looked in the back seat. This is how scared I was. And as I'm backing out of the parking lot, the convenience stores, they have glass panes. So I'm driving really slow, looking like to see, is she checking out? And I saw her sweatshirt briefly in the store, but I didn't see it anymore. And then I looked at the cars, like, I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm looking at the cars, like, what kind of car could this young old lady be driving? Like, because she wasn't old enough to where she was just hanging out in the convenience store. She wasn't hanging out. There was nobody. It's not a convenience store where people loiter. She wasn't young enough to just be in there just doing nothing. She would have had a purpose. But I never saw her anymore. Like, I saw her sweatshirt, but then it's like she turned around from the counter again. But y'all, when my husband called me, I said, can I tell you something? He said, what? I said, I think I just saw a spirit. I said, everything in me feels like she was not real. I said, in the energy shift that I felt when I locked eyes with her, I'm terrified. I was scared driving home. When I got to my house, I told my mom about it, and my mom immediately said, Neek, she said, that wasn't a person. She said, that was a spirit. She said, and if she was a real person, God allowed you to see the spirit that was operating in her, or a demonic entity that was in her.
I believe that the convenience store that she was hanging out with may have been cursed. It may have been an area of death for demons. Demons always hang around cursed areas, death areas that are full of death.
I said this prayer, like, reveal to me the spirits inside of people, like, allow them to expose themselves, you know, just because I just wanted clarity about the people that I was around and that was in my space, because I was just going through so much. Fast forward to this encounter, I had forgotten that I even prayed that prayer until my mom brought it back to me. She was like, and if it was a person, God maybe just allowed you to see the demonic entity that was operating on that person. Y'all, I don't know if y'all believe me or not. I don't know if y'all have ever experienced this or felt this way or not. Listen, everything in me tells me that I didn't encounter a real person, that she was not a real person, that was a spirit, that was an entity, that was something that God had allowed me to see with my spiritual eyes. The fear that I felt, the dread that I felt when I locked eyes with her, I looked at her, my heart dropped. I immediately felt panicked. I felt scared. I felt like, this ain't right. She ain't right. Her body movements was very unnatural. Her head was like this. She said, "You're so pretty." And her head popped up like this. Her voice, she didn't look young enough to possess a voice that sounded so childlike. "You're so pretty." That's how she spoke. I definitely believe that everybody walking the street with us is not amongst us. Let me know if y'all have ever experienced anything like that. But that's just my story.
Thank you so much for checking out this video. Leave a comment. Definitely don't forget to subscribe. I hope to see you again on the next video. Thanks again.